I'm going to start this review with a very controversial opinion, and I feel like it might make a lot of people turn the video off right away. But I got to be honest, I got to just tell you guys my real thoughts in these videos because how else are you going to trust anything else that I say? So I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of The Rock. I'm really not. And I'm not saying he's a bad person, like a bad individual. I just don't really like his movies because I tend to find that he plays up his persona in every single film and basically just plays The Rock. Like he's the same character in virtually every movie with little slight minute differences here and there. And I'm just not really a fan of any movie that The Rock stars in. Any movie that I've ever seen with The Rock, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of The Rock. I'm not won over by it. I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's a bad person. It's just like his movies aren't for me. So going to see a movie with The Rock in a lead role is kind of took a lot for me to do. And the fact that it's Black Adam, I will admit it's a weird choice because Black Adam traditionally is depicted as a villain and a villain to Shazam, so getting him his own movie is a strange choice, but I do appreciate how long The Rock has been fighting to get this movie made. It's a passion project of his. It's something he's really wanted to do. It's a character that he said he resonated ever since he was a kid, reading the comics, and I can appreciate that. And I have no problem with people resonating with villains or anti-heroes or characters that do horrible things. I mean, I don't think that if you like a character that kills people, that means that you're going to all of a sudden think it's a good thing to go around killing people. There are plenty of fictional characters I love that murder the fuck out of people, so I have no problem with that whatsoever. Because the thing that makes particular villains stand out and stand the test of time is that you can write those characters in a way where what they're doing they believe is justified in their own mind and are going about it in a way that you can understand and you can sympathize with to a degree. Or even if you can't sympathize with, you can at least understand where they've come from and what's built them up to do that. Characters that don't necessarily do things just in the name of evil and darkness, but are doing things to achieve a personal goal or something inside of them that they feel is right, and they are continuing to do so. So for that reason, I can understand why you would want to make a Black Adam movie. But it is kind of strange to just see him as a lead character, considering there are so many different ways you could weave him into like Shazam and things like that. But regardless, we're here. We got Black Adam. So is this movie any good? I would say there's something good here. There is a core fundamental idea, without spoiling things, of a nation that is being persecuted and subjugated by outside forces and wanting to take control of themselves, give control back to the people, to not feel at that sense of oppression. Like there is that sort of idea within the movie, but it gets so lost in the shuffle by what feels like a really, really bad script, a really bad screenplay, because it feels like this movie should have come out in the early 2000s. That's sort of the vibe I got from it. And it would make sense too if The Rock has been trying to get this movie made for over 15 years, that maybe they're still lingering on script ideas that were written back then. It doesn't feel like a movie that should have come out now. It feels like an early 2000s superhero movie, and that doesn't automatically mean that it's horrible, but it doesn't feel like it fits in with where we are now in this sort of oversaturation of superhero movies. And I feel like we are oversaturated with it. There's too much to keep up with. I don't even watch every single superhero piece of content that comes out anymore because it's just too much. There was a time where it was cool to kind of watch everything, but now it's like I kind of pick and choose what I go for. And I chose to go see Black Adam because I really liked a lot of the other characters. I like Black Adam as a character, actually, and that's one reason. And I also like a lot of the other characters they decided to throw in. Most particularly is Doctor Fate. Doctor Fate, from everything I've seen or read from DC Comics, is an absolute OP badass, and they got Pierce Brosnan to play him, and he's fucking fantastic in the movie. My only issue is, let's talk about the whole team. So Black Adam in this movie kind of does work as both a protagonist and an antagonist in a way, because you're seeing things through his point of view, so you understand where he's coming from and you understand like what he is and what he's all about. But on the flip side of that, he is way too powerful of a being, to just kind of be here and exist in the world. And so there's a group called the Justice Society. Weird that we've never heard of them before in any other DC movies, but whatever, they're here. And they're composed of four characters, which are Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Cyclone, I think her name was, and I think Atom Smasher is his name, not the Atom, so different character. So this guy grows as opposed to shrinks. And so they get sent out to kind of subdue Black Adam, to bring him in to find some sort of justice within this, which creates the whole conflict of somebody coming into a country that's not theirs and taking control, and what is the right thing. Black Adam is too dangerous to be around, but is there a way that he can be? That's the whole conflict, but it's the core idea is kind of ruined by how horrible the screenplay is, how awkward the dialogue is, a lot of characters that just feel like throwaway, a lot of humor that doesn't hit, a lot of moments that just aren't as impactful as they need to be, because they don't really give enough time to really get into these characters in the Justice Society, to feel for them and to feel emotion for them before they start doing a bunch of crazy, chaotic things and start doing the fight sequences, which are awesome. I mean, I would say the main reason to see this movie is the action sequences, because they are actually a lot of fun. I was kind of hating the first 20 minutes of this movie, I'm not going to lie, and to get into why, I kind of have to get into spoilers, but like the first 20 minutes of this movie was really, really grating. But then when Black Adam shows up for the first time, he has this whole amazing sequence with this whole battle scene against this military force, and it's pretty awesome. Like, that scene in itself, if you just clipped that out and played that as like a scene, that scene's awesome, man. It reminded me of like the Batman fight scene from the warehouse in Batman v Superman. Like, if you just take that scene out and just watch that scene, it's great. And there are other great battle sequences. The first fight with the Justice Society versus Black Adam is awesome, but as the movie goes on, the fights get a little bit less impressive. The final action sequence, the final action moments, the villain is just a very, very throwaway. There's not a lot to him. He's just kind of there to give Black Adam somebody to fight that's on his level, and it doesn't, I don't know, it just wasn't kind of, I don't know, it was. But what I mean is, if you're going to have a character like Dr. Fate, who is capable of all these crazy magic abilities and illusion and can see into the future, and he does a lot of really cool stuff, and I love the way that they made him look. His costume looks perfect. Pierce Brosnan is perfect in the role. I love Brosnan's voice as Dr. Fate. They showcase his powers really well. I don't have anything bad to say about, how Dr. Fate performed in the movie. It's just that we don't really get to know a lot about him. There's not really enough there. So when intense moments happen towards the third act of the movie, you're not really as invested as I feel like we should be. Like, there wasn't really enough time to kind of build the team. And I feel like that's because the majority of the movie is focused on Black Adam himself. It makes sense, it's his movie. But because of that, when we have moments with the Justice Society, it doesn't really work, I feel like, it's not as impactful as it should have been. And especially with that character, because that's a character that I've wanted to see in a movie for a long time. And I can't lie that every time Dr. Fate was on screen, I was just like, yeah, Dr. Fate! I was like a little kid, like, yeah, Dr. Fate! But thinking on the movie as a whole, they didn't really give me a lot to sink my teeth into with him. The same thing is true with Hawkman. And I would say, again, Hawkman's a badass. Hawkman is brutal. They did him right. I love that he wears his helmet the whole movie. I love that it looks as dorky as it does. Like, yes, put him in the helmet. Too many times in these superhero movies do they have characters that need to wear masks and they never wear their mask. Even in like the Marvel movies, like Captain America's never wearing his mask. Iron Man takes his mask off all the time. Like, let's wear the mask, man. Let's wear the helmet. So I like that they kept him in the helmet. And he's a savage, he's a badass, he's got the mace and everything, he's super strong. It's everything that I've wanted to see with Hawkman in a movie, but again, I just don't feel like the emotional resonance was there with him. The other two characters, they're kind of the more throwaway ones. They try to do some humor with them, they try to do some cute things back and forth with them, but I really think that the other two characters could have been different characters, like the Cyclone and Atom Smasher. I feel like you could have swapped them out and put two different characters in there, maybe two that just would have given you a little bit more of something to cling on to, because they tried, but yeah. And then the other characters, it deals with this family. So there's this mother, her brother, and her son, and all three of these characters are terrible. And it's not, I can see what the movie was trying to do with them, but their dialogue was horrible, the delivery was horrible, the humor didn't work. So all three of those characters, and they're main characters, like, instead of focusing fully on like the superheroes, you know, and again, I get it because you're trying to draw a relation to the people of Kahndaq and, you know, how they live their modern day lives. And I get the purpose of it. I just don't think that any of it worked. Like the idea was there, the foundation was there, but the execution was kind of not. Overall, my buddy that went to see this movie with me kind of said that this movie is like fireworks, where there are moments where you're just not paying attention and you're just enjoying the explosions and enjoying the action. And if you're a DC fan and just you've wanted to see these characters, like, you get to see Black Adam doing Black Adam shit. You get to see Dr. Fate doing Dr. Fate shit. You get to see Hawkman doing Hawkman shit. It's cool. But as a movie, as a film, as a story, as a narrative, it falls apart completely just because of just a bad execution of the script itself. At least that's my opinion of it. And I know I started this review saying that I wasn't a fan of The Rock, so you might be thinking that that bias is playing in. To be fair, I think The Rock did a fine job as Black Adam, mostly because Black Adam doesn't really have a ton of dialogue. He speaks very directly, like he's very serious, he's very monotone, he's very matter of fact, you know, because he comes from like an ancient time. So the humor that they do with him, I think, does work, actually. Like, of all the humor that does work, it's probably with Black Adam. This isn't a spoiler, but there's a scene where, like, he throws a guy, you know, like 10,000 feet in the air, and Dr. Fate says, you know, we should bring that guy in for questioning. And then there's this awkward pause, and Dr. Fate's like, you killed him, didn't you? And then, you see the body crash in the background. I thought that was funny. I thought that moment worked. But a lot of the other moments didn't. But I thought The Rock actually was fine in the role. And it is probably because it was a passion project for him and it's something that he's been wanting to do for a long time. As somebody who's not really a fan of The Rock, this is probably the best Rock performance that I've ever seen. So there is that. So cool moments, cool spectacles, great to see particular characters. But as an overall narrative, it's very, very Rocky, kind of falls apart. So that's basically it. So if you like this review, give it a thumbs up, give it a comment, let me know what you thought of the movie down below. And real quick, before I end the video, I will talk about 2 spoiler things. One that was cool, one that really, really annoyed me, but it's technically like spoilers, so anything after this point in the video, if you don't want to know, giving you time to back away. Okay. So the one that annoyed me is at the beginning of this movie, there's, of course, a MacGuffin. I don't think there needed to be, but there is, and it's this crown that causes this demonic power to happen. I'm getting sick of, like, items that cause power. They put up a giant beam into the sky, man. Like, we got to stop that shit. No more beams in the sky. I know the Avengers did it, and that was good, but, like, every other movie doesn't need to do the beam in the sky thing. So in the beginning of this movie, this crown is located inside of this mountain, which, granted, the main characters were not supposed to go into. However, it wasn't guarded. Like, there was no booby traps. Like, all she did was follow the writing on the wall to get her to where the crown was. And there's this whole military team that also wants to get the crown. And I'm just thinking, like, in the beginning, unless I missed something, unless I missed a line of dialogue, correct me if I'm wrong, but she just climbs up on the rock and grabs the crown. Why did she need to do that? Why couldn't any other character do that? Why couldn't the entire military force that was also inside the mountain just go get the crown? Was it that hard to find that she was able to find it in 2 seconds? Like, I don't understand. Why? All right, and the other thing that was cool is, yes, the post-credit scene is very, very quick, but we get to see Henry Cavill as Superman. Yes, he is back. He is doing it. He is in the traditional suit, and he is here. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I love the Man of Steel movie. I think that I don't love Batman v Superman, but I don't think the problem with that movie was Henry Cavill or any of the actors. I think, again, it was the script. Henry Cavill, I think, is a fucking phenomenal Superman, and I was really, really bummed out that they were considering not bringing him back. So the fact that he is here to stay, hopefully, and shows up here, it's only for a couple of seconds. You know, he shows up and says, Black Adam, we need to talk. That's basically the post-credit scene. But just seeing Henry Cavill back as Superman warmed my heart. But that's it, guys. So I love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you later.